Well, good morning. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast, Executive Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Hamla. I've been doing something a little different this morning. If I have trouble scheduling guests or confirming guests, I'm going to do what I'm doing today. Just show you back then I was doing a show, I'm ranting now podcast, but a show that is kind of one I picked that was special to me. So let me get going and we'll start the show. You're about to meet Francois again on Neuro. He's CEO of Neuro. And I I am speechless of what he's doing. I mean, this is like, to me, it's like sending a man to the moon. Neuro interprets the mind of the brain, captures it, and able to run a computer and basically give people that have a mind but can't speak the ability to speak. That to me is just mind blowing. The technology that's being used to do this is amazing. So let me start this video for you. Hold on. Remember, this is a show. It was Brenda's show. There's gonna be some intros and outros as show oriented, but from now I'm doing a podcast. So here we go. So let's get into it. Well, good morning and welcome to Stroke of Genius Show Executive Experience. I'm the host, Aaron Amala. I have got a man on my show today that I want the world to know and want to hear what he is doing is short of, I'm not even short, is beyond sending a man to the moon. I mean, it's amazing. He is harnessing the power of the mind, giving those people that are locked in their bodies, called locked in syndrome, the ability to communicate. I get kind of choked up because that is, I can't even put into words the way I feel about this man. So let me bring him on. His name is Francois Gan, and I want is the CEO of Neuro. So let's bring him on.
Welcome to the Stroke of Genius Show, Executive Experience. And now, here's your host, CEO Aaron Avila.
Hey, good morning, bro.
Good morning, Aaron. How are you?
Really good. So I am so, as you know, we talked that agreement. I gotta watch how fast I speak because I am so excited you are here today. Thank you for being here.
I am so happy and honored. It's a great pleasure to be here today, Aaron. And thank you so much for having me on the show. It's awesome. I think we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, it's really great. Francois, instead of me trying to introduce, why don't you introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you're about?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of Neuro. Neuro is a Canadian company. We're based out of the Waterloo region in Ontario, Canada, and we are specializing in neurotechnology, which is the application of technology with the brain. And I've been doing this for 9 years, and we've managed to bring on board some very interesting milestones and discoveries and technologies that are helping people. So, it's a great pleasure to be able to share, with you and the audience a little bit what we're about.
Well, what's amazing, what is amazing about Neuro and what you've developed you're giving people that I knew personally because I've been serving the stroke community for about 8 years now.
Yeah,
And it's one person named Keti Vanderhoven that is in Finland that has status master stroke, has been locked in ever since. I told you about her in the green room. She is now because she's gorgeous, but she was a supermodel, had the world by his tail. And while she was on a shoot, she had a stroke, she suffered a massive stroke, became locked in. She's 99 now. She's using the older technology, I'm saying older, that she runs a computer with her eyes. She runs the mouse with her eyes. She points it. Now, your technology, which is mind blowing to me, uses the power of the thought, inanimate thinking. You can't touch it, you can't move it. So someone could be like Peter, be 100% logged in,
that's right.
100%. And you can tell me how I wanted to play a video of this. And I didn't have time to load it, but I encourage everybody out there, go to Neuro's website.
Yeah, neuro.world. You can see a lot of videos of our work on the website. Yeah, absolutely. So, I pretty much started working in this field after actually I was subject to an accident as well, a tragic accident that happened to me. Part of my hand was amputated, actually, in a car door, in the hinge of a car door.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I had 7 reconstructive surgeries, 4 major infections, many months of exposure of Oxycontin, which is a narcotic that almost killed me. And at about the same time, 2 other events in my life happened. My father was diagnosed after a very long process with Alzheimer's disease, and my mother passed away from a brain surgery. So it was kind of a, life. We talked about this, Aaron, before. Life as a way to kind of bring you places, right? And somehow, those 3 major events, kind of one after the other, really kind of changed my life and really led me into this field of neuroscience called neurotechnology. I was a technologist. I was an innovator in enterprise technology prior, and decided to bring my view on technology into neuroscience. And like you said, there are solutions out there that have been there for many years, which can be as simple as a board, as a letter board, all the way to what's called an eye gaze based technology. Now, for some people it works, for some people it does work. Unfortunately, it's not the case for everybody, right? And some people may have glasses that prohibits them from using the technologies. They may have what's called microsaccading or ptosis, or other conditions, even light conditions sometimes affects those systems. So you cannot use them easily outdoors if you can go outdoors, and so on. So fundamentally, it is a technology that has certain limits. And for me, this was not acceptable. Like I've always tried to push technology, further in my entire career, which spans about 30 years right now. And I really kind of wanted to bring to light something else, and I knew also that the Microsoft operating systems or the Apple, OS 10 were great for most people, but they were never created for individuals that happen to have a traumatic accidents or stroke or neurodegenerative disease, right? And like I experienced and like you experienced, Aaron, things happen very quickly, or sometimes they take many years. But either way, you get to a state where, I called it being touchless and being voiceless at the beginning. It's called akinetic mutism, right? But it's not being able to touch, not being able to move, not being able to use your natural speech. And I've unfortunately seen stroke patients in critical care units, in New York City and other places where, one day they're fine, and the next day their life has completely changed. Completely changed. They can no longer move. They can no longer talk. They have no idea what just happened to them. They're scared. They're trying to, understand what's happening and what the next steps will be, right? And one of the things that all of us take for granted is communication. Right? We all think that we can talk to anybody, we can communicate with every human being around us, but the reality is when you get into those conditions that it takes seconds or it takes many, many years to get there. Once you've lost communication, you are entrapped by your body. You still have your mind, you still have some cognition or full cognition, but you're not able to communicate. And for me, this was kind of a aha moment, one of those things like, wow, okay, I need to work on this. Yeah, and that's what we did. That's exactly what happened.
I didn't tell you this, but when I first had my brain aneurysm and stroke, it's been 13 years now. I was totally mute and unable to communicate for weeks, not months. And there's nothing more terrifying than the inability to communicate. And for you to develop a technology that allows people that permanently unable to communicate it's just amazing. And I want to thank you for helping mankind like that, because it is amazing, because there's nothing more terrifying than being locked in. Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've worked over the past 9 years on this. Okay, and I've had the pleasure to meet the victims, to meet their families, to meet their nurses, their doctors, and you know the reality is it is not only a catastrophic event in your life when it happens, but it also is a catastrophic event to everybody that is surrounding you, right? I mean, I've had mothers telling me, I don't even know my son anymore because I haven't talked to my son, for the past 4 or 5 years, right? I mean, or like I know one lady who had a stroke, had a traumatic brain injury, and was also diagnosed with ALS, right? So you have three major problems, three major neurological conditions, and she had no communication with her family for 5 years, right? So, when you're not able to communicate with your loved ones, when you're not able even to communicate with your caregivers, the people that are supposed to give you, treatment, therapy, that's a massive issue because they're trying to guess. I don't think, I don't know if there's anybody here today that works in the clinical world, but I've had clinical managers telling me, Francois, we spend a lot of time with those people. We're trying to understand what they need, right? We're trying to communicate, but we can't. So there's a lot of estimation. There's sometimes some guesswork, and if only we could talk to them, right? If only they could talk to us. And this is what our technology does. This is what, even if you're very, very advanced, we were the only technology in the United States that was cleared originally by the US FDA under the Expanded Access Program, right? So the Expanded Access Program that was in 2019 for us means that there's no medical device, there's no pharmaceutical product that is actually capable of helping those individuals. And we were cleared for up to stage 6, fully locked in neurodegenerative states, ALS in this case. So the reality is when you reach that state, I mean, there's nothing like you. I could walk into a room with that patient, and I can feel the patient. I experience the patient. I can spend, hours, days with that patient. Yet anybody from the outside world will think that that person is no longer alive. There's no muscular control. There's most of the time there's no eye movement, or there's ptosis, the eyelids. There's no muscular control on the eyelids, so the eyes are closed or partially closed. There's intubation, obviously, of all kinds, and you get in and you're like, wow. I mean, there's nothing. There's no muscular control. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing. But if you're in sync with what's happening, you actually can feel the patient. You can actually understand there is something going on, right? And I remember, a gentleman, a young man, who I worked with for a long time, and that person loved the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I made him communicate, with our system and trigger the Red Hot Chili Peppers by thoughts. And I could feel his joy. I could literally, he wasn't moving, he wasn't rocking the place, obviously, but he and I, knew that this was like such an emotional, moment for him and for me as well. It was just like this moment that is priceless. So, those are things that, are very, very important. I worked with children, teenagers. More yesterday, I got an email from the mother of a teenager who had a brain infection and intractable epilepsy, and we've been working with them for over a year right now. And the mother just mentioned to me that he actually took her gears at school now, so he's actually in school, capable of actually communicating in school with with other kids and with teachers. So this is like, this gives me the reason why I wake up every morning and go to work. This is just great stuff for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I Fair boy Nick kind of choked up because it's amazing, Francois, what you're doing. I think I want to be clear to everybody out there. The people that Francois is giving the gifts of communication to are the people that do not have the ability to communicate, but their mind is still working. So, Francois, the technology that Francois, I'm actually holding back tears. I'm just so grateful, so amazed.
Yeah.
But the mind is still alive. The mind is still working.
Yeah.
Francois has developed technology that will take the thought, the energy of the thought, and actually make it available to communicate and make it to interface with the computer and communicate. And wow, I'm getting emotional.
I want to make sure that people understand also, we're not hacking the brain. Like, first of all, we're non-invasive, right? So this is something that's very, very important, is we are not at all putting a chip inside of your brain. We're not doing that. Okay? My mom passed away from a brain surgery. I'm not going there. It's just, there's a lot of risk, associated with this. So we managed to find a way of listening, monitoring those tiny, tiny, tiny little brain signals that are emitted, and use those pretty much as the way to activate and trigger and use a computer tablet like I have behind me, or a smartphone. And those are completely safe. You can be communicating and using a system literally within seconds, right? And there's no training. It's calibrationless for the vast majority of people. There's no surgery. There's no need to even go see, a doctor in an hospital or anything like that. It's something that we can deploy. We do like to speak with the doctors and be in communication and have some paperwork done from that perspective to make sure that this is okay for us to proceed. But fundamentally, it's a very easy to deploy, powerful technology that's very easy to use. And this is also part of my background. Like, I built a lot of technology in my life, and I wanted the platform to be powerful, but also very easy, user friendly. So this is we're in the second generation of the Neuros system, the Neuros products. And it's one of the things that also is very important, and I want to mention it today, is that there are jurisdictions around the world who deemed that some people, including children, can be euthanized if they are deemed to be vegetative, right? So the problem with that is that I think it's 42 or 43% of the time there's a wrong diagnosis, right? The doctors think that those people are vegetative, but they actually are not. They're minimally conscious, or they have some sort of neurological issues, but it doesn't mean that they've reached a state of being brain dead, right? So there are people around the world in that state today. And if any of them, or if any of you out there know those people or know anybody or the caregivers, please do communicate with me. Go on nuro.world, find the contact form, and email me because I have cases with young children where those children actually ultimately were euthanized because the Supreme Court of that country refused to get help from Canada in this case, right? And I even had American doctors with me interested in helping, and that particular jurisdictions refused to listen to what we had to say. So it's very, very important, that there's awareness, and I thank you, Aaron, from that perspective so much for letting us be out there and let the world know that we can also help those kids or those adults, in those jurisdictions. This is a kind of personal, goal of mine, is to actually help those people change, this misunderstanding, I would say, in the healthcare world, that fundamentally we can reach those individuals. I have several examples of that. We've reached children and adults that were clinically diagnosed as being non-cognitive. Okay, so they were non-communicative, but the doctors were saying they are non-cognitive. Okay, and they managed to interact with our systems on demand within minutes. Okay, so the doctors and everybody else were like, whoa, absolutely shocked. And so this is something really, really important. I want to get that message across, is that you've had a stroke, that you have a traumatic accident, that you had a brain infection of some sort, that you maybe have a total spinal cord injury, that you're dealing with a condition that's very, very traumatic, where you have no ability to reach out. If you or anybody in your family listen to this, please do reach out. Because I would love to help. And that's something that I'm usually, in those very complex cases, I'm personally involved. You will get to talk to me directly and work with me on this. And it's something that I would love to do to anybody that's out there.
Oh my God. I never thought about that. I don't know how many people are euthanized a year, but oh my gosh. Francois, I'm speechless. I mean, you
don't want to be speechless today, right? We got to talk.
Yeah, that's true. We talked about the good joke. But how see a clinician or a professional, or see somebody who wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So the best way to get a hold of me is very simple. Again, you go to neuro.world. Okay. We have now different languages that we're setting up on neuro.world. So no matter where you are in the world right now, if you do want to talk to me, just go on neuro.world. There is a contact section. Okay. And there's, like everywhere, there's multiple ways, multiple buttons that you can fill up a quick form, and then that information will ultimately get to me, and I'll contact you, and then we'll take it from there. We are available. If we're not in your country yet, which is a possibility, then usually I will get a hold of the regulatory bodies and the doctors in charge, and then we start having a conversation trying to figure out how we can help you, right? So there's been some exceptions in some cases. Some countries have said, what, we don't have a solution, right? We have nothing in that country. So it can be allowed under compassionate use, what's called compassionate use or expanded access. And then fundamentally, we can enter that country and help that patient, right? So that's something that we are more than keen in doing, because fundamentally, I want that technology to be available worldwide. That's the idea.
Yeah, I mean, your technology needs to be in the world. There's no doubt. I mean, to me, and I'm just your average church from. This technology needs to go global, no doubt. And your website, I wanted to make sure people, one, you got to see his website. Go to neuro.world. And I'll put the links in the description of the videos too. And when you go to neuro.world, his website will, like I said, translate into numerous countries and numerous languages. And the videos he has on there is amazing. I can't wait to actually get off the show and search your website, because your website is amazing.
Yeah, there's some really cool interactions. I'll tell you a funny story. It's something I wasn't expecting. I had a gentleman in the US who was a big fan of sports, and unfortunately for him, he got into one of those very late stage neurodegenerative states. And one of the things is that he used our system with the nurses to do fantasy football, right? To gamble on fantasy football. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, how I never intended, for those patients to do sports gambling to some extent. Never promoted that in some extent. But the fact that that young man, was still able to do what he likes, right? That's still able to interact with those, with that passion of his, was like, wow. That was the last thing I would expect, right? And there's more. There's many stories like that we've experienced, and each time that we make a difference, it's very, very rewarding, very rewarding.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed because we only got like 4 minutes left to show, but let's talk about the exciting news here. Newest patent. I think you got just approved yesterday, right? Tell me about that patent that you got.
Yeah. So so the main technology that you guys know that we're talking about right now is called NUOS, NUOS. Okay, NUOS. But there's another one. There's another one called the PAD, PAD. Now, the PAD is actually the first technology that I worked on. And yes, yesterday I announced we had a fourth. So it was made a fourth yesterday. But it was the fourth patent that we actually received for the PAD technology. And the PAD technology is similar in a way, to NUOS in terms of the architecture, but it looks at 5 key regions of the brain and does a rapid scan to determine how your brain is degenerating, right? So for the early detection and the continuous monitoring of your brain, without having to go to an hospital and get an fMRI scan or a PET scan, which, sometimes if you have one in your city, it could take months for you to get to. And if you don't have one, right, I mean, there's many parts of the world that don't have an fMRI or a PET scanner right next door, then it's an even bigger problem, right? Because you would have to travel sometimes long distances to eventually get to one, many months, at a later time. So my approach to that came actually from my father's experience. So my father was diagnosed with the Alzheimer's disease over a 6-year period, and he eventually passed away from a series of stroke, actually. And fundamentally, the process. So he was in France. The process in France, and I'm sure it's true in many places around the world, just took forever. It was a very manual process. It just was a very lengthy. I think during the 6 years, he had only 2 fMRI scans done. I mean, it was just terrible. It was just a very difficult process for him and for our family to go through. And pretty much what I did is I went through every scientific paper that had been written on the diagnostic of neurodegenerative states and Alzheimer. And this cross-analysis pretty much led me to find very specific elements and parts of the brain that were subject to neurodegenerative diseases and disorders that ultimately showed signs of neurodegeneration. And the pad is a wireless portable helmet, very futuristic looking, but very simple, very minimalistic looking, which has multiple types of sensors that does a very fast scan of those regions of the brain that are subject to neurodegeneration. And you can do this within 20, 30 minutes at your local doctor, at your general practitioner, in your local medical office, right next to
My God, I'm sorry, my God. You're talking to someone that's an epileptic. And if they get scared, I wake up many times in the morning with these little black bruises on my eye. So while I'm sleeping, I'm having small seizures. And I think what I'm hearing is your pad would go on, I would show the seizure where it's occurring and why, maybe why.
Yeah, so the thing is that it's not just a helmet. It is utilizing artificial intelligence, specifically deep learning, so deep learning methodology, that are looking at the data that we're getting from the brain. It's de-identified, right? So I mean, it's encrypted, de-identified data. So the architecture, the fundamental of the architecture is very secure. There's no proprietary data, there's no patient information data that would, kind of escape out there. It's just a lot of encrypted numbers, if you wish, just a lot of numbers that are coming through. And pretty much we look at that type of information for us to determine what's happening in those regions. And as you do, those scans, you can see, fundamentally the progression of a disease or what's happening in some of those regions. And the AI part of it can start classifying and determining what's happening and the stage that you're in, and the areas that's responding in one way or the other. So this is very relevant to patients at risk, very relevant to also the people that are working on solutions, that are working on therapy, like the pharmaceutical products that are trying to come out with a way to slow down a problem or the way to solve a neurological disease and so on. So the pharmaceutical industry in some ways need that data, right? They need the data, they need to make sure it's working, they need to understand the progression of a therapy. The regulatory bodies needs to have that data. They need to be able to confirm what's happening, right? So if you only rely on fMRI or a PET scanner, I mean, you have those big machines, very costly machines that are, utilized all the time by patients, but, over many months period. For us, you could just walk into your general doctor, get your scan, and boom, you're done, right? And so it could be done very, very quickly, very affordably as well. And ultimately, we could help science in the process.
Again, now I hope you see people. Wow, Miss Faces. Francois, this is amazing. I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we only have a 30-minute show. I'm really hoping you come back. We've only scratched the surface of what you're doing in the world. And I want to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you for for listening to Following the Energy and putting where you're at right now and giving you the ability and the technology to help people and help people in this world. So I wanted to thank you for that. So before we go, tell people once again the best way to get hold of you, what social media platforms, how do they get hold of you?
Yeah. So if you want to get a hold of me again, go to NURO.world. Okay, NURO.world. That's our website. There is several contact forms there, different buttons that says, contact me or book me and so on. You can fill up a quick form, give us, basic information, your name, your email. We'll get back to you right away, and we can communicate with you from that perspective. There's also a little chat button there, so you can use the chat button if you want to. If you are in the regions that we operate in right now, you could potentially get also a hold of some of my team members, right? So we have presence and implementations in Canada. We've done some work in the US. We're also in Southeast Asia right now, in the Middle East. We're entering Latin America as well. So there's a lot of very exciting development I'm going to be announcing. I'm also on LinkedIn. All right, so Francois Guérin, my name is below here in this video stream. You can look me up on LinkedIn. That's kind of one of my favorite platforms. I use Twitter also, but I mean LinkedIn is the best way to get professionally involved with me in some ways. From there we communicate and get a Zoom and see how we can help.
That's what I mean. So I want to make sure everybody in here is neuro.world, right? NURO.world.
That's right.
It's a website. That's the best way to get a hold of Francois and see what they're doing. Now, I'm telling you, this is amazing technology. This technology is world changing, planet changing, honestly. But Francois, I hope that you come back sometime. We can delve into this some more. Thank you so much for coming.
Aaron, thank you so very much for having me. I'm delighted. Thank you to everybody that came in also and gave us some some very nice comments here. And I look forward to the next step, and I'll let you know. Any new achievements, and keep an eye on my LinkedIn as well. And feel free to reach out. Like if you're in a situation, if you know somebody that is in a situation where they've had a stroke, where they had traumatic accidents, traumatic brain injury, or spinal cord injury, if they're subject to a neurodegenerative disease like ALS or multiple sclerosis, or anything along that path, brain infections, intractable epilepsy, and more, autism as well, please do get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to help.
Well, thanks, man. Thank you, Francois.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, bye. Have a great day.
Have all a great day and a great weekend. Thank you.
It doesn't really get any more amazing than that. What Francois is doing is just absolutely, hey, pardon the pun, mind-blowing. Really mind-blowing, amazing. I'm not sure why my green screen's not working, no clue, but it doesn't really matter. Because what I'm doing now is rebranding everything in all shows and turning them into podcasts. So feel free to get a hold of me on the show. You can put a link. I'll scan this QR code I'm about to bring up, and it'll allow you to book a meeting with me. So scan that code with your Again, visual. Sorry, podcast people. I'll put the meeting link in the description of the video. But scan that QR code with your phone to book a meeting. But the main thing before we go, that I want to make sure that I bring 2 points that seen Francois talk about what he's doing, but there was 2 points that that really stuck out to me, and I want to bring those to your attention. One, do not pull the plug on loved one. Do not, if they are deemed cognitively gone, go to nuro.world, reach out to Francois. He'll send you the helmet, I'm assuming next day air. It'll arrive within 24 hours. They can put it on, they can analyze the brain and give you a for sure reading whether that it's time for that person to be let go. But before anybody in this world, before you pull the plug, or before you end the life of someone, the scary thing is, I could read between the lines many times that somebody deemed not cognitively alive, so they pull the plug. When in all reality, with the technology of neuro.world, they actually could begin to communicate. So my heart goes to Francois for what the work he's doing. You want to talk about what makes someone great? Help the world. And Neuro.world is doing that. Francois is doing that. And I personally want to thank Francois. So, number one, don't pull the plug without going to the website, contacting Francois. The second part was this is far more reaching than just communication. He can scan the brain within seconds. Within seconds, have full reading on what the brain is doing and the mind is doing. The brain. I've been a stroke survivor for 13 years, and there is a big difference between the brain and the mind. For Francois to develop a technology that reads the mind, I cannot tell you how that is just mind blowing to me. That is like as bigger than sending a man to the moon, honestly. Oh, okay, wait, because the comments coming in. I'm glad you're commenting. Oh, Francois is out there. Francois is actually out there. It was last minute, Francois. I had some technical issues with the person on the side video, and I wanted to promote what it should do because it's world changing. It is planned and changing, and I'll get you live as soon as possible. Get the whole, don't, here, I'm going to put what this is Francois for sure. Don't let anyone go unless you give them a neuro reading. I'm paraphrasing it. I mean, really, don't you want to know before you let them go if it's time? Here's a way to save your loved one. You're talking about saving. They're going to get emotional, Francois. This is going to save lives. This is just the power of communication for a lot of person, which brings tears to my eyes now. But it's allowing those people that normally would be, oh, wow. getting really emotional. Normally, those people or loved ones that you pull the plug, that you basically say, okay, it's time for them to go. They could be alive. They could be in their mind totally able to communicate. How can they communicate? Because they can communicate with neurotechnology. The technology Francois created. So if anybody has any questions, please we go to again neuro.world. Here's the website. I put it on the chat. Neuro.world. Do you have any, if you're a clinician, if you're a doctor or you're a neuroscientist, whatever, contact Francois. If you're a person ready to pull the plug on a loved one, maybe you're distressed, don't know what to do, call Francois. He's here to help you. Neuro is here to help you. There's a technology to help you. All right, everybody. I appreciate tuning in this podcast. I really appreciate it. Again, I'll put as many links as I can in the video. I'll also upload this to C-Suite Radio. And it'll be on this again. I'm in the transition of going show to podcast. So bear with me as we go from that. But I'm going to be doing my podcast intro. I'm really going to be branding this podcast because I think I'll reach more people. So I want you to know, if you want to be in the show, let me know. Just reach out to me. I'm links are in the description of the video. I bet podcast. But Francois, thank you for taking your time being out there. Everybody, thank you for tuning in this Trick of Genius podcast. Thank you.